What you've just seen will fundamentally change human life on our planet forever. What you've just seen is human cloning.
In 2005, what turned out to be the first human cloned embryo was produced here in Newcastle University.
Look again. The DNA from a person to be cloned is injected into a human egg. And what's created is an intact cloned embryo of that person. If this new embryo grew up, it would be the person's identical twin. But this embryo was created to be destroyed for research. Both actions are highly controversial.
We think that this may be the most difficult issue that the human race has ever had to confront. What is going to happen to us as human beings? We could become totally unrecognizable if certain people have their way.
So what is the truth about cloning humans? In the next half hour, we'll explore how our stance towards cloning reflects our understanding about the nature of both society and science. Some fundamental questions will be raised. Are embryos one of us or not? Should they have the same protection of law as anyone else? But if not, what stops us from deciding that others are not one of us either? Is the need to find cures being used to justify scientific research that goes too far? Clearly, there are some things we shouldn't do, despite the scientific advances. And what's the truth about the potential benefit of cloning and embryonic stem cell research? Is this research going to save lives? And finally, where will this lead? Some are worried that purely cost-benefit ethics will lead to a new kind of medical totalitarianism. Our investigations into human cloning naturally began in Newcastle in the UK, but they led to interviews with key players not only in England, but also on the other side of the Atlantic. We met with experts in Boston and in the capital, Washington, DC. However, we start our debate not in these seats of power, but with one man in the Rocky Mountains and his journey to find a cure.
In 1997, I was driving on the interstate in Montana. While driving, I fell asleep and my truck drove off the road and it rolled over the side of a mountain. And I wasn't found until 14 hours later, and basically I spent the night in a truck upside down in the mountains. I had a massive head injuries and loss of blood and several broken bones around my body, so it was touch and go whether or not I'd survive. So it was actually 36 hours after the injury when they found that I had a damaged spinal cord. To wake up all of a sudden in a hospital room, it was very, very shocking. And to find that I couldn't use my body, that I was paralyzed. I couldn't feel below my neck, I couldn't move my arms, my hands, my legs, or anything. And to realize that that was my future, in literally the blink of an eye, it was very hard to deal with.
Jim's injury prompted a new direction for his life, to search for a cure.
Spinal cord injury has not been a good experience for me. Some people are able to move on after they suffer some type of a disabling condition and rebuild their life in new directions. I've been very stubborn in trying to do whatever I can. The focus of my life has been to recover the life that I had before my injury, because I believe that I can walk again, and it is possible to cure spinal cord injury. So as a result, It's changed the direction of my life, becoming obsessive with research-related issues, studying science, studying spinal cord injury and neuroscience, and lately stem cells and cloning.
But how could stem cells and cloning help, Jim?
Well, stem cells excite people because they give us an opportunity to do things in medicine which we've never been able to do before.
For curing spinal cord injury, what's going to need to happen is the injury site is going to have to be bridged.
The idea of stem cells in general would be to go in and repair or replace the damaged tissue. Given the right signal, a stem cell can form any number of specialized cell and tissue types. The two main types are embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells.
Adult stem cells come from different parts of the adult body and also the umbilical cord. Embryonic stem cells come from an early embryo, which is like a hollow ball with stem cells inside. To get these stem cells, the embryo must be broken open and so destroyed. But where does cloning fit in?
The theoretical idea behind therapeutic cloning would be to create your identical twin through this cloning process so that they could get embryonic stem cells that would match you and hopefully not be rejected in a transplant.
You start to produce mini-me, and at a very early stage you take out stem cells which you then use to grow your human organ.
But this is no longer science fiction. Cloning has already been done in the UK.
Well, this is quite a famous machine in many respects because it's the one that we used to develop the first cloned human blastocyst in 2005. To make a cloned embryo, we need to have a human egg. Using this tool here, we can cut a hole in the outside surface of the egg so that we can pull out its nucleus by applying pressure. Once we've done that, the egg can be injected with the cell from a human or whichever animal we choose. Then we transfer it to machinery which we can use to fuse and activate that egg so that it will develop into an embryo from which we can extract embryonic stem cells.
So with cloning, the idea is that you take a human egg, you remove its nucleus, and instead you inject the DNA from a person to be cloned. This turns it from being an egg into a cloned human embryo. It then develops and produces stem cells which can be removed. However, some have grave concerns about this process.
There are huge problems with therapeutic cloning. I think it's unsafe, it's unproven, it's unnecessary, it's unethical, and it's also dangerous as well.
Most people in the UK don't realise quite how far out policy is in the UK. Not simply vis-à-vis conservative Catholic states or America, but vis-à-vis almost all European countries. You go to places like France and Germany and Canada and Norway, all of which have basically liberal laws on abortion, and they send you to jail if you do therapeutic cloning.